need to get back to it. It's been harder when you don't have a morning routine, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we had such kick-ass habits back in the day that we have a really high standard. Like, when do you, like, at what point are you forgiving, I guess, is the question, because I still feel like I don't forgive myself when I like break habits and shit, although it's like, you know.
It's hard to forget because even when I'm like in bed and I'm just like I'm gonna stay like I don't want to get up, and then I can't rest because my brain, my mind is talking to me. It's like get up, get up, get up, and it's just like it's harder for me staying in bed, but I still do it. So that's why I say like I need to get back into my old habits of whatever time I say to I'm gonna wake up, get up, do my wash my face, go to the bathroom, then meditate, then go straight to have breakfast because that's where I'm lacking. Like I say I'm gonna wake up at 7:30, and then I wake up at 7:10 or 6:30, and then I can't go back to sleep because I'm like shit. I have to get up in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking to you, I just figure out it's like I have to. It's like I get to get up in an hour.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what on the other side of that get up are you fearing? Like, maybe you've just made your process so long. Like, if you're like, when I get up, I got to wash my face, I got to brush my teeth, I got to eat breakfast. Like, maybe if you're just like, when I get up, I get to walk downstairs and make a cup of coffee or something, and then you get into it or something, like making it less complicated. That's what I've had to like try and focus on, is like, because I currently have to get up for my English teaching. And that's at that's a 4 a.m. get up. And so like I've since it's not a habit, like I haven't been getting up for teaching or anything like that. So it's like creating this new kind of like wiring in the brain essentially. And I've had to set like 3 alarms, but I have to like get in the mindset. Like the first thing I do when I wake up is meditation. Like that's something that I know you used to do. Like I could hear it in your room and stuff like that in the mornings. And so instead of thinking about all the things I had to do, like I could think about that a lot better once I meditate. But if I don't meditate, then I have 100 things in my brain that are completely unsorted. But literally, like when I wake up now, I'll like set the alarm for like 20 minutes before my class, and I'll just do it for like 5 minutes, just try and breathe. And immediately I'm like, fuck. But you still got to get up to do that shit, and you still got to rise and shine and not hit that snooze button. So it's still a process.
Yeah, I mean, for me lately it's been really hard to just shut my mind, like it's always talking, it's always overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know if it's a person trait in me or just something in tennis players that we always overthink. It's just the thing. Like even when I meditate, like I try to focus on my breathing, and so hard, like I can't even hear it. And then with all this COVID thing, then you start like just creating things in your mind. It's like, oh, my head hurts, but it doesn't really hurt. And then you start touching yourself, like, what?
Do I have the fever? Do some COVID tests.
Even with this lacks of things that I'm not doing as I used to do before, I'm still taking care of how I'm eating. I'm drinking green juice to be more careful and have a better immune system. I don't have a scheduled time on when I'm eating every day.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes later. But I try to make it as close as I can to the same time as last day. But yeah, I think one of the things that helped me a lot in my past years when I was in Sonoma was just like how I had to be at a certain time. I had to be eating because if not, then I had to go to work, and then it was hard.
So what's funny to me is that it seems like it's you work better with a schedule than kind of like without one. Like I'm also like, in a weird way, I feel like I just am so much more motivated with like that set schedule, like knowing what I'm going to do, as opposed to this like whatever the hell this vacation work thing is. Like, it's so, that's a strange one for me, is like that no one's, I don't have a place to necessarily always go to. Like, my house is now my job, my gym, my social setting, my bar, my everything.
Let me grab another chair because this one's not comfortable.
Yeah, sounds good. And then maybe we can tell the people who you are. Yeah, there you go.
Much better.
I saw that one had like a little rod. Perfect. Well, I've been recording for a little bit since we started, but maybe you could just tell the people who I'm talking to, who you are. Just go back as far as you want, whatever you want to do.
I am Rafa Martinez. I am from San Diego, California. I was born in San Diego, but I grew up in Tijuana. My parents are my dad is from Mexico. My mom is from another city in Mexico called San Luis Potosí. And then I been a tennis player pretty much my whole life. Then that got me to play college tennis, and then got me to meet Dylan here, and then studied business administration at a private institution and continue my master's degree at Sonoma State University. And pretty much as of last week, I graduated from my MBA program.
Freaking huge, dude.
No school. Hopefully, no more school.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, I'm just I've been a college coach for the past 4 years, and right now I'm transitioning out of college tennis to move on and trying to figure out my next step, which hopefully we can talk about during this podcast.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing all about it. I know, like you said, you're in a transition phase right now, which, has that certain kind of uneasiness, but I know you were actually kind of looking for it. So that's kind of like a power move as well. But obviously you've had a lot of success in your life, which I being one of your best friends, I love to hear and I love to see, and that you're continuing it and keep pushing and everything. But immediately I think about, like, where would you have been? Where would I have been without tennis? Like, that's a thought that goes in my head. Would I have this drive if I didn't have the sport with me the entire time? And that's like a thought I always think about, is like, how much of a role has like tennis played in the journey I have, or would I have done the same things without it?
I mean, I've been playing tennis for 27. I've been playing tennis for 18 years. I started when I was 9.5. Before that, I used to play soccer in my elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Every Mexican player, every Mexican. And I also used to do Taekwondo, which I believe that it was a huge thing for me when I was a junior. When I started playing tennis, that helped me a lot to kind of shape my personality and the way I used to approach things. It's I want to say a sport that introduces you to what discipline is, what the kind of work ethic you want to have. And I remember when I started when I was like 4 or 5 Taekwondo, and at the same time I was doing soccer. Tennis didn't exist for me at that moment. And then one day I just went to the tennis club that I grew up in, and I saw my aunt play tennis, and I was like, oh shoot, this is really cool. I want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like around 9. I was about to turn 9. And after her match, I went inside the court, grabbed a racket, and just hit a ball. And I fell in love with it. It was kind of like easy for me too. I want to say that I was a bit gifted for tennis.
Hmm.
Could be that I was also a soccer player that made it easier, you know. But then I got off the court and my mom was like, and I was like, Mom, I want to play tennis. And she's like, you can't do three sports at a time. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do taekwondo anymore. And,
Hmm.
and I was about to finish and to get my black belt. And she was like, well, you finish taekwondo, you get your black belt, and then you can start tennis. And I think
I
that's
love that. I love that.
one of the biggest lessons I learned in my whole life, from my mom, because she didn't let me just quit something because I wanted to start another sport, you know.
Mhm.
So I believe that in my subconscious mind has been always present, and everything that I start, I I finish. You know, I try to live my life with that standard. Of course, there are some things sometimes that I start and I don't finish, but sometimes it's most school related. You know, I have never been really a class student. You know, that is super focused and love school. You know,
Yeah.
I got good grades and everything, but it was more because I needed to get the job done. You know. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I started playing tennis after I got my black belt, and you know, just the my whole life it's been uh, about tennis. Like everything that I do outside the tennis court, and the way I interact with people, the way I approach situations, the way I mentor other of my students. It's all about the lessons that I learned through my tennis career, being a player and now being a coach. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. Like there's so many lessons to be learned through. I mean, if I want to be like selfish, we could say tennis, but through sports in general, uh, like at any age, honestly, like there, when you're a little kid, there are little kid lessons to learn in sports. Like when you get hurt, you get back up and you keep playing, you know, like, oh, like someone scored like you lost the game. Cool. Keep going. Like you're learning kind of like these like little kid things. But then I feel like sports also grow up with us and they start to teach us like adult lessons and the lessons that you need to necessarily learn at the age you're at. Like when you were in juniors, I'm sure through tennis you learned how to deal with bullies a little bit because like
oh,
it's just
juniors, man! Like in when I was here in Tijuana, because I'm right now at Tijuana living. When I was here in Tijuana, going to school, I used to
Mhm.
be. I'm a pretty short guy. Like I'm 5'7", but back in the day, I was small. I was skinny. I had a baby body, you know, and for some reason, um, I was born at on October 12th, and in Mexico, the way the academic year works, if you're born on September or like earlier than September, you bump up a grade, and
Mhm.
if you were born in October, you are like in a grade below. And for some reason, when I got my birth certificate here in Mexico to have the dual citizenship, they made a mistake, and they put me with my mom's birthday, which was September 1st. So
Oh wow.
that bumped me up to the next grade, and they were like I was not way older than me, but just they were older than me. They were taller than me. They were physically bigger than me, so I looked
Mhm.
like a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And I used to get bullied by this, not by the guys or the girls in my grade, but I used to get bullied by the students in the next grade because
Mhm.
I used to play soccer with them, right? I used to play soccer with them, and sometimes I would take some of the guys' spot, you know, the ones that were older, just because of my competitiveness, and then they will like bully me on like a lunch break, and
Mhm.
it was bad. I remember that. I I was, I was pretty afraid, and I think that's one of the reasons why when I was growing up in the United States playing tennis, I was really shy and timid. I didn't even wanted to interact with a lot of people. Also, my English was not good, so I was afraid
Hmm.
of it. But I mean, bully was it's definitely not only in tennis, in a lot of places in life, and I experienced that. I didn't know that until like I was old enough to realize it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's I feel so bad as far as especially like the getting like when you get picked on as a little kid, I feel like it sits with you a little bit. Like it's one of those things where it's like you never almost drop like that kind of like fuck you bully, I'm gonna do good in life in a way. Like that's kind of where like my head goes for all the people that have like bullied me or like said I wasn't gonna do something. Like I feel like I really internalized that in one way or another and was like, all right, I'm gonna just go hard in whatever I'm gonna do. And like you said, like when like you thought your deficit was maybe being younger or smaller, and that brought out like your inner like dog kind of, like I was watching this funny ass podcast with Kevin Hart called Cold as Balls, which I had never heard about until yesterday. But he was talking I think he was talking to Russell Westbrook or something. It's a really cool, have you heard of it?
With a podcast or just
Kevin Hart's podcast, Cold as Balls.
no?
He interviews just he gets in an ice bath and interviews sports stars, and it's actually pretty interesting. I would for sure check it out. I found it yesterday, and it's hilarious. Like he had like Dennis Rodman, he had some like J.R. Smith, all sorts of cool people, Russell Westbrook. So I checked it out, but what he was saying though was just like because he was smaller and like because he had something to prove, like it brought out that mentality of like it's almost fun to be an underdog sometimes. Like it's scary being the top dog. If you were the top dog, like if you were like the big guy, like the guy that should beat people, I kind of have a harder time in that situation than I do when the underdog, like, let's fight. I love that grind. Like, I think that's so much more fun in ways.
Like right now, you said that for you, it brought like the fire inside of you. For
Hmm.
me, it was hard for me to kind of like express it. I guess outside the sports. Um, I I remember when I got my black belt. Um, they used to do like this Monday school meetings where like all grades will get in like in how do you say this in English? Like it's like in Spanish it's auditorio.
Like
Like just like a big place, where
an
you can.
auditorium,
Yeah,
a gym, a gymnasium,
yeah, a gym.
gymnasio.
I forgot the word. We will get in the auditorium, and then we will do like a ceremony because it was like a Catholic school, and
Hmm.
we will do the Mexican chorus and just everything, and then after that they would do a recognition of like different athletes outside school,
Hmm.
and I remember there was this time when I got the black belt that my mom, I don't know why, but my mom wanted me to get recognized for finishing my taekwondo career, and she decided to brought the black belt to school for me to
Oh.
walk in front of everybody and just get that black belt, right? So the day comes and I get this recognition in front of all the students in my school, and then I thought like, oh, it's cool, maybe
Hmm.
they respect me a little more. No, man, in lunch they were bullying me more. They were like, "Oh, you're a black belt. Come on, defend yourself." Oh,
Oh no.
then what did I do? It,
You were the
it,
top dog.
it was bad. It was bad because I was always getting picked on. Um, it could have been because I was uh, I don't know, I was taking some spots of the older people the soccer team, or they were just like boys, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about what we were talking right now about the whole being a top dog and being an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
I was here in Mexico. I was in my school. I guess I was an underdog. I guess I was like the one that they used to bully, and I would like get all my frustration out on the tennis court, and that will help me to play better and compete better and to practice harder, because I remember they used to invite me to go out to hang out with friends, you know, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll be there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
5:30, okay, I'll be there, and then I will stay in my tennis club just playing tennis the whole day because I had a good crew there. I had a good group of friends.
What age was this?
It was between 10 to 14, you know,
Okay.
and I would be like every day in the tennis club from like if it was like during the academic year after school, I would eat, and then I would go and don't leave the club until like 10 p.m. You know, and then
Mm-hmm.
summer it was like 9 a.m. in the club, 9 p.m. back home. Like I was always in the club,
And
and
no
then
one forcing this, right? This is just you.
I don't know. My mom was like, "You don't want to come home?" Like, no, no, no. I'm cool here. And it was because we were like a really solid group of friends that they played tennis. Some of them, well, most of them not as serious as me, but
Mm-hmm.
then after we would just hang out and we would like do other uh, sport activities such as soccer or like get in the pool or like play some games of like chasing each other. You know?
Mm-hmm. It was more than tennis,
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
sure.
It was pretty cool. And then when I didn't want to go out with my friends from school, not because I didn't like them, just because it was not the same vibe, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved to San Diego for high school, that changed, you know,
Mm.
that changed. I started experiencing different, I guess, different
Lifestyles.
lifestyles, different cultures, different points of view from people, personalities, and then I started dating and I started liking girls and started getting more distractions outside tennis. And then all of a sudden, I was not a top dog, but I was not an underdog anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was like a tennis rock star because in high school, you know, I don't know about in your high school, but there's not a lot of people that plays good tennis in high school. So
Mm-hmm.
I was this tennis rock star, and then ego started like feeding up and then boosting up, and then um, I never became a bully, but then that disappeared, and then that underdog fire inside the core also disappeared. You know.
Yeah, that transition's a tough one. I imagine, especially when you have to make it as a kid.
Yeah.
uh, to go from, kind of like you said, kind of being bullied, maybe uh, even at things you were maybe good at, which is tough as a kid. You expect to be bullied at the things you're not good at. Like, haha, you can't jump rope, like some stupid shit. But you're like, since when? Like, kids are so imaginative; they'll bully you for getting a black belt. Like, there's no adult like that I could really think of where like, you got a black belt, like that they wouldn't be like, "Oh, that's awesome, like that's insane." So that's like kids are brutal, and then you got to make this transition of going from almost trying to prove yourself to all of a sudden you did it and you got that approval in one way or another.
Yeah.
And now what do you like? Yeah, now it's like, oh, I got the approval. So wait, why am I like, what's the now you got to find a new why.
Yeah.
Why am I playing tennis? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I got the love.
And that's pretty much what happened. Right now you mentioned something like being bullied for something that you're good at, and then transitioning from Tijuana to San Diego, where like Tijuana, it's in the community that I live. Like we have, it's a pretty unique lifestyle where when you're a kid, um, most of the kids here and most of the families um, have a similar way of seeing life, you know.
Hmm.
And then you go to a place like San Diego, where there's many people from different uh, backgrounds and different point of views, and then you see people more liberal than here, and more. You start noticing that the world is not that small.
It sounds like you went from a community to a city, kind of.
Yes, yes, and that's pretty much what happened. I, I mean, it was a really hard transition because I had a I had a perception of like the life should be this way, and then I go to San Diego, and then I see that life is not this way or this way. It's however anybody wants to live it, and everybody has a different way to live their life. And then that as a kid, uh, when you start getting when all before you moved to San Diego, all you did was playing tennis and hang out in your tennis club. And then
Hmm.
you go to San Diego and you see all these people that are going out to the mall, that are going out to the movies, that are hanging out with friends, that after school they don't have to stay for practice because they're gonna go to a friend's house and they want to play FIFA. Or you start liking girls and then you start trying to date some girls, and it's like all these distractions, and you being 15, 16 year old guy, you know,
Hmm.
you're really mature and you think that you know it all, that you want to do everything in the world, and then you don't, without a good mentor, you don't know how to handle all this. And for me, I had a really good mentor, my uncle.
Hmm.
um, he always took me to all the tournaments and pretty much was like my second dad. But it came a point in my life where I was like pushing him away, you know,
Hmm.
because he was telling me the things that I didn't want to hear and that I knew it was true, but
Yeah.
I was too immature to listen to them. And just because he was part of my family, I kind of like block him, you know.
Hmm.
And
Well, it makes me want to ask. Like, it seems like like you were almost trying to create a new identity, or maybe like leave your old identity behind in a way. Like you, like it didn't. Like it seems like you weren't trying to hold on to that like as strongly anymore. You're like, all right, let's see what other identities are out there. Like it's like you're from Tijuana, you're a tennis player, you're a family guy, you have these best friends, but what's over here? You
mhm,
know, and I think that is a huge draw, especially as like kids, especially grow up in sports like that. I had a much different trajectory because I discovered tennis in high school, so like that's when my addiction started. So it's like I wasn't curious about other things; I was only curious about tennis. But I get it when a kid's played one sport their whole life, or in your situation, you played a few, but then you started to focus on tennis a bit more. Uh, and then you start to realize how big the world actually is, and it's not just this tiny little bubble. Like you naturally want to go explore those things,
mhm,
because if not now, then when? In a way, like obviously it you could make claims about how it affected your tennis career and whatnot, but I do think it is healthy. But you do want to have maybe like a mentor, someone responsible that's been through it, to go and explore those things in a reasonable way. So like I don't want to harp on that too much, but I do see that huge challenge of, I've like when you're a kid, somehow you're much more serious than when you're a teenager. Like I find that kids can kind of focus on things a lot better, and then like we were saying, teenager, it's just a tornado of interests and ideas and things pulling you one way or another.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Because I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, I want to also say that it was thanks to my Taekwondo years of experience. But when I started playing tennis, all I wanted to do was just to be number one in the world. You know,
Hmm.
as soon as I grabbed the racket, that was my goal.
Wow.
And I remember this is pretty funny. Uh, the first tournament that I won, I was playing against this guy in here in Tijuana that they made a tennis tournament here in my club. And I was a kid. I thought that this was it, the tennis and community, and that's it. And this guy was the best tennis player in Tijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And before in the past tournaments, he beat me pretty easy. And then after just a few months of practicing and um, and just taking it serious, I ended up playing him in the final, and then I beat him. And then I remember my dad and myself drove around Tijuana, and I remember my dad putting the song of like "We Are the Champions," and I was so proud and so happy. I
Hmm.
said, like, yes, I'm gonna be number one in the world. And then after that, like from 10-year-old to, I mean, I want to say 15 years old. I mean, my goal was that, and I would like uh, eat eat breakfast, eat lunch, go to sleep, and like play tennis all day.
Yeah.
And my mindset at that moment when I was a kid, it was really interesting because when I played the tournaments, most of the kids are afraid of playing higher seats.
Mhm.
In tennis they have some spots in the draw, and you have your number one, number two, number three, all the way to, it could be all the way, depending on the tournament, it could go all the way to 16
Mhm.
spot in the draw. And every time that I would enter to a tournament, I would want to play the number one of the tournament because I wanted to take him out and I wanted to take his ranking because before in the old system, you will get higher in the ranking depending on who you beat.
Mhm.
Like if the number one in the tournament was 50 in Southern California and you beat him, then there's, depending on how you do in the rest of the draw, you could be 49 in the next update of the ranking.
Mhm.
So I would go into the tournaments and I would tell my uncle like, I want to play this guy so I can beat him, and I would like, my whole mind was like, I'm gonna beat this guy, I'm gonna beat this guy, and I will get into the court and I will be like, it was like, I'm gonna die here before I lose.
Mhm.
And I think that was one of my successful traits being a kid. Like you said, when you're a kid, you're more serious, you're more focused because you have no distractions. All you want to do is just play and play and
You're a
play.
dreamer.
Uh-huh. You have no responsibilities. You have no. Um, I mean, you can have fears, but if I want to say that if you're a kid like me when I was 10 to 15, that
Mhm.
my goal was like being number one in the world, it's pretty hard to be afraid of competing, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but everything changed for me when I traveled to this Mexican Youth Olympics. We went to Cuernavaca, and in Mexico they do this year after year, where like the best two players of each age category represent the state, and
Mhm.
they make like a huge tournament in Mexico. And then you go like representing. For me, I won representing Baja California Norte. There are other players that represent Mexico City, uh, Quintana Roo, all the states in Mexico, right?
Mhm.
So, long story short, after the tournament, on our way back to Mexico, because from Cuernavaca to Mexico, you drive to take the airplane. There's
Mhm.
no, or at least at that moment there was no airport in Cuernavaca. And then on our way back, we had an accident where like when we were entering to Mexico City, um, three guys decided to shoot uh, the coach that was traveling with us, and they killed him. They shot him from outside the bus, and then this guy inside the bus also shot him, and that was a really life changing experience for me because we were a group of like 10 kids, including my brother, that went just to watch me play. My mom was there because she was part of the committee. And I remember when I was at that spot, like up to the day, I remember the guy that was in the bus shooting the coach. Like I can picture him. You know, it was
Yeah.
I was frozen in the seat like this, and the girl that was next to me was the one that pulled me down. It's like, and I remember like just hearing the gunshots, and I'm like, they're gonna kill us all. You know, they're gonna kill us all. And then, I mean, luckily for us, they just killed the coach and they went away. Um, and then after that experience, I remember that was my best year in Mexico. I was like number 8 in the nation.
Hmm.
Um, in that Youth Olympic tournament, I lost in the quarterfinals of the doubles round. It was a pretty good year for me playing tennis. And then after that, I didn't want to play tennis in Mexico anymore. I was afraid, and that's the reason why we decided to move to San Diego, and that changed my whole career. You
Yeah.
know, my whole career was changed. I don't know what would have happened if I would have stayed playing in Mexico. Maybe I wouldn't have those distractions that I got in San Diego.
Hmm.
Um, but that was a whole life changing event in my life. You
Uh,
know.
yeah. I mean, hearing that story and then hearing about the distractions that kind of happened, it makes me think about like what you maybe what you would have wanted, your the perfect childhood to look like, and then maybe also what you maybe just needed. Like maybe you needed those distractions in one way or another, just as far as like the series of events go. It just I think if you would have, like in my like I think if you would have stayed in Mexico, like you would have never like found those distractions, and I think it would have eventually caught up to you. Like the fact that you never like had a chance to kind of separate and then look back at it from a different perspective, maybe, or a different point of view or a different appreciation. I definitely think it gives your just your time in San Diego a slightly different perspective than I originally had on it. To give you a little bit more credit, little teenage Rafa. Uh,
No, I mean, after that, I continued to really focus on tennis. Even when I my first year when I was in San Diego, um, I continued to practice and play tournaments, and I was doing good. I
mhm.
remember when I was 15, I won some tournaments during my summer in San Diego that were pretty good. I beat a lot of good players, and then I think like the other day I was talking with my uncle, um, and we figure out when my whole I guess focus on tennis changed. It was when
Mhm.
I played this national tournament here in Mexico. Um, there they held a national tournament here in my club, and there was this player from Mexicali, Sergio Chip. Um, he was this stellar player that nobody could beat. Like there was
Mhm.
like a year or 2 years that he was beating everybody, man, everybody, just so good, man. And before that, before playing that tournament, I played him at the beginning of the year, and he beat me like 1-0, you know.
Yeah.
So I come to this national tournament, and my mind was like, I'm gonna win the national, you know. So, for me, since I was a kid, I really wanted to win a national tournament because I was winning this state tournaments, regional tournaments, sectional tournaments. I would go to San Diego, to Los Angeles, and I would like lose in third or quarterfinals. Never really won something bigger than a sectional tournament, right?
Mhm.
So I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to see like, okay, you think you're this good? let's see if you can win a national tournament. You know,
And this
like
is in your head. I love this.
yeah. And I started the first round against one of my best friends. He was older than me, and we have this crazy match. We go 3 sets, and somehow I ended up winning the third set. Actually, look, I have some pictures.
Yes.
Is this one like they were like
I'll make your screen big here.
so I was pretty young. I was 15, and the tournament was I think it was like 18 or 21 and under. Uh, so I won the first round, then I won the second and the third pretty easy. Um, and then on the semifinals, I play um, this guy that I used to practice with, and I beat him 6-2, 6-2, and even though the score was somehow easy,
Hmm.
uh, it was a tough match just because we used to practice together and we knew each other, and he wanted to beat me always.
Hmm.
So I go to the final, right, and I'm playing this guy Sergio Chip, and then it was so cool. I think that was, I don't want to say the best match of my life, but just how much how many people were watching at that moment, and just because it was in my hometown, I remember before entering to the stadium, because we have a stadium in the tennis club.
Hmm.
The stadium is pretty nice. Like, you have the court, and then on the side you have some bleachers, and on this side you have another bleachers, right? So imagine on this side you have all people from Mexicali, because the guy was from Mexicali, and there's a lot of people from Mexicali, and on this side there's a lot of people from Tijuana, right?
So fun.
So entering to the court, I mean, a lot of players were just talking. It was like, oh, Sergio is gonna win pretty easy. Rafa has no chance. Blah blah blah. And then that was just feeding me up, like I wasn't nervous, but for some reason that my mentality before that tournament was just like, that will help me to perform better. That
Hmm.
will prove everybody wrong. And I remember before entering to the stadium, I had my back, and I was just like getting into the zone. I didn't like to listen to music, so I was just like breathing and just talking to my uncle. And then I was walking to the stadium, and then this friend from Ensenada, I'm never gonna forget this. This friend from Ensenada come to me, and he's like, Rafita, you got this, man. Come on, man. I believe in you. I bet 15 pesos that you will beat this guy. And 15 pesos back in the day is like $1. And I look at him, and I'm like, well, thank you for having faith in me. 15 pesos is a lot of money, man. Walk in, and then, like the atmosphere of the match was insane. It felt like a pro match.
Hmm.
And this guy was pretty big. He was like 6'3", muscle guy. He was 17. I was 15. Um, later on, he ended up playing in Gonzaga. He
Oh
played,
wow.
yeah, he played like number 3 in the lineup, and then
Hmm.
he played number 1 double for them. But anyways, we started the match, and before the match, I kind of like had a strategy on how to play him, because he was definitely stronger than me.
What was your style at this time? If you don't,
Crafty.
crafty.
Yeah, I would come to the net, I would slice, I would throw loves, I would sometimes hit hard, I would hit angles. With him, that's what I needed to do. I was a really creative player, had good hands too, so I needed to bring him to the net. I couldn't give him rhythm.
Hmm.
I couldn't give him rhythm because he was gonna destroy me. That's why he beat me 1-0 the first time. And I started the match, and I win the first set 7-6. And then I remember it was a big shock for everybody,
Hmm.
because they thought that the match was going to be over in like 30, 45 minutes. And somehow I managed to explode his weaknesses. I was standing like 3 feet behind the service line to return his serve, and all my returns were going like high, just
Hmm.
making play. And then I won the first set, and on the second set, I kind of like got so confident. I started like hitting the crap out of the ball, and he destroyed me in like 30 minutes, 6-1. I got,
We're all guilty.
I got lucky, and I was like, I'm gonna beat this guy. I'm the shit. Boom, 6-1, man.
Slap in the face.
Then the 6-1 set just happened so fast that he got so confident, and then he just started rolling. And on the third set, he was up 3-0, 40-15. And then I remember hearing just like people like, oh, this is over. People started walking off the court and just like going to get something to eat because there was not so much tennis to see. He was playing really good, really good. And then I remember 3-0, 40-15, him serving. And I was like, okay, Rafa, either you turn this around or this is going to be over in 10 minutes. And then I was like, I'm just going to make him work every point. I'm not going to go for winners. I'm just going to put one more ball on the court.
You're going to do what got you there in the first place.
One more ball, just grind and grind and grind. And all of a sudden, I break him 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 4-3.
Oh, fuck.
And then there was this, in the 3-3, there was this crucial point where it was a deuce point. I don't know how I remember all this. I think it was just like the match that changed my career.
Mm-hmm.
I approached to the service line. I was returning. It was a deuce, and he serves the shit out of the ball. And somehow I was so confident that I run around my backhand and just.
I was gonna say, was it a runaround?
Off that forehand return winner.
Inside in or cross court?
Down the line, boom, like a deuce return. Down the line, boom.
Ooh.
Like, okay, this is it. I'm winning. And then I just rolled over him. 6-3 won the third set. I got so confident after that point. And then when I won the match, the first thing that I did was I dropped my racket. I couldn't believe it. The whole stadium was like just screaming. And I looked to my left and I didn't see my uncle. And I saw my aunt and I'm like, where's my uncle? And she was like, that way. And I look at my uncle and he was crying. And then I was like, shit, I did it, So anyways, I win the tournament. And when I come to get my trophy, I expected this big trophy, like a really nice trophy. Like it didn't have to be like a Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm. Just a little weight, a little size.
This is what I get. This is what I get.
Tennis is so disappointing.
I look at a trophy and I'm like, all my effort for this. And then I remember walking to my uncle and I was like, here, I don't want to play tennis anymore. It just destroyed my I don't want to say my dreams, but just like I worked so hard, I suffered so much, I sacrificed so much for this, And at that moment I was so immature that I couldn't see that it was just something bigger than the trophy. But for me at that age, I was like, what the hell, And that was my turning point. Like after that, I started going out a lot in San Diego. I started dating my first girlfriend. I started drinking. Before that, I didn't drink a single drop of alcohol. I started ditching tennis practices on Fridays so I could go play FIFAs with my friends. And then the coach that I was practicing with, he was a really good person. It was kind of like my best friend, but I didn't have like some goals. What we were going to do with my tennis. it was too broad. And it was like, I want to play college tennis, but we didn't have the small goals on how to get there.
Yeah, the details, the steps.
And then because if I won the national tournament, I thought it was a shit, and I could keep doing. I could just play from Monday to Thursday, and I was going to keep being good. And I didn't count that hard. I didn't notice that the thing that got me there was the hard work and the sacrifices, and just how serious I was for tennis. And that disappeared. And then 15, 16, 17, I started losing to players that I used to beat pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
I started losing to players that I used to be like 1-1, 2-2, and I started losing in 2 sets. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I didn't like losing. I hated losing. I hated it. And then when I was 17, I was like, that's it. I quit. You know, I I got injured on my shoulder and on my lower back, and that was the perfect excuse for me to stop playing tennis.
Mm-hmm.
I was for a whole year in my junior year. I was for a whole year without playing, practicing tennis, and I was enjoying life. You know, I was dating this girl um, for 2 years, but it was, you know, it was like a high school relationship where first love, first thing,
Mm-hmm.
first kiss, and first going out with her, and first partying with her, and all this stuff. You know, and then first time drinking with my buddies, first time didn't have to worry about practice. And then, you know, when you're in such a, I don't want to say crazy environment, because it was not a place where there are like a lot of drugs, you know. The drugs were in the picture. I never um, decided to try any drug.
Mm-hmm. Is there any particular reason that you were able to like stay away from that? Or was it just like being a kid and it seemed scary enough, or did you have?
I think it was just how my mom and my dad raised me.
Mm-hmm.
Just how, drugs were never in my life before,
Mm-hmm.
and I was scared of them. To be honest, I was scared of them. I did try weed,
Mm-hmm.
and it was bad. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it. My body was warm. I threw up, and I was like, that's it. I don't need this in my life, you know.
Yeah, I would say most teenagers don't need weed in their life. You have enough reasons to be lazy
Yeah,
and
and
shit
then
like that.
that's what I mean. I actually didn't. It was not interesting for me, you know.
Yeah.
But then the people that I was surrounded by, um, they would do them.
Mm-hmm. Were
So
you popular in high school? Was that like what was the scene like in high school? Did you feel like you had a lot of influences and a lot of peer pressure going in, or was it?
no, because I was, even though I was hanging out with a lot of social people that just go out and party,
Mm-hmm.
I was known for the tennis player.
Mm,
You know? Oh, Rafita, the tennis player, he's a badass, you know.
mm-hmm.
So I was not like a top dog influence where like whatever I say, they will do it. I was more like in the middle and trying to be like them, you know, because I was trying to fit in with
Mm-hmm.
them. I was trying to stay out from like being an athlete and become like a social person. Um, and my surroundings were not the right people that I needed to hang out with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed them. I Until the day they're my friends, you know, but I don't hang out with them anymore. Um, and then I started losing. I lost my best friend. Not He didn't pass away, but I lost him because he just from one day to another he went to rehab
Mm,
for a year, and then I didn't know anything from him for like 2 months. Nobody knew anything from him, and I was scared. And then that was my turning point where like, okay, I need to get back to tennis.
mm-hmm.
This is not the life that I want, you know.
Yeah.
Then I came back to tennis um, after a year, and during that year, I also lost my girl best friend. Same thing. She went to rehab because of drugs,
Hmm.
and then that was when I was like, okay, I need to get my life together again. And I started training again, but my confidence in myself was over. You know, like it was so hard to get it back. And I my dream was to play in San Diego State,
Hmm.
and I declined a lot of offers from other universities because I was too stubborn to stay in San Diego because my dream was San Diego State and because I was dating this girl.
Hmm. There
Uh,
it is.
uh, and then I declined all my offers to go to other universities. Um,
Looking
and
back, any advice for anyone in maybe a similar situation?
yeah,
Anything you've learned from that?
I would say to really don't change your plans or what you want to do. The opportunities that are showing up to you in your life, you have to at least experience and see what they look like. Don't shut them out of your life just because of a girl, you
Mm.
know.
Or
Um,
because you think you know
or,
what's out there?
or because you think you know. Because I mean, I don't regret what the decisions that I made in my life because um,
I mean, it led you to this podcast.
thanks to that, it led me to find the person that would help me turn my life around. Um, but I would say to explore your options, to don't think that you know it all, and to maybe if you're dating a girl or a guy and you think that's the right person for you, maybe you're right. But if he or she is the right person for you, they will stick with you no matter where you go.
Hmm.
They will support you. They would be with you, sharing your highs and lows, and they will not hold you back
Hmm.
to achieve what you want to do. And she didn't hold me back, to be honest. She didn't ask me to stay. She didn't. She actually encouraged me to go away and to to move on
Did
because
that almost make it harder? I find that it's weird. There's a weird dynamic in like things like this, whether it is family, friends, girlfriends, whatever it is. We all have these like certain connections, but it's like you almost probably like you almost want them to say no, stay, so then you could be like, no, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna be a butterfly, I'm gonna go see the world. But then once they throw you in the loop of like, no, no, you should really go, you almost have a really hard time, at least in my from my point of view, like I have a really hard time not being like oh, actually, like maybe I will stay for you. Like it makes it hard not to want to step up and kind of like out romanticize the other person. Like I've had a lot of friends uh that not a lot, but I've seen enough friends like make that like decision where they stay for that significant other or even that friend or that family member. And uh like because people are so adaptable and able to persevere, they normally make the best out of it, is what I've seen. Just like you have, just like I have a friend named Monica who did the same thing and she made the best out of it. But it can be a really kind of clouded decision, I think, when you're kind of making these decisions based off when you think, if you make decisions about your life based off someone else, that's already a scary kind of point of view to be from. Now, sometimes you have to do it, especially when it's family. You're like, no, I need to stay here for my family. It's what I got to do. Okay, like I get that. It's hard for me to like question that, but it's like when if it's a friend or like that significant other, I really do believe like if you look out for yourself in the most positive way, if they are the right person with you, just like you said, they will stick with you. They will be by your side, and you will figure out a way to make it work.
No, and like you said, like once you hear like, nah, go, like, at least for me, my personality is like, I have a problem to know how to put myself first, uh, most of the times. Like I
It's hard to
always,
be selfish in a
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Like I'm the kind of person that likes to be there for others and to help others and to um, just um, I don't want to say make their life easier because that's not the point, but just um, put them first and then me. You know, I'm
Mhm.
not a selfish person.
You're like
So,
giving them a boost, right? You're like here, get over the fence first, and then I'll jump over myself. You know.
so yeah, I mean, once that happened, I was also in a program in my high school called Compact for Success, which
Hmm.
was a program that pretty much uh, sh- it was easier to get to San Diego State. Let's put it like that. You know, it was a program designed to be,
Like a college readiness.
yeah, and it was a program that was affiliated with my high school with San Diego State. You know,
Mm.
so I was in that program. I had a good GPA. I graduated with a 3.4 GPA, but because I was so immature and I was so unprepared and I didn't know what to do and I didn't have the initiative to look out for me to see what the next step in my life was. Um, I applied kind of late to San Diego State
Hmm.
because I was one of the last ones applying. I didn't got in because I had a good GPA. I had 3.4 GPA. I was in this Compact for Success program. My application looked good. I had good references, and I just didn't get accepted. San Diego State, you know, San Diego
Yeah.
State is the easiest schools to get in, or at least back in the day. You know,
Uh-huh.
I don't
And
know
it
about
probably,
today.
if you're from your town, it's probably it's what it seems like. Yeah.
So that was another obstacle and another crushing,
Setback.
yeah, setback because I was so devastated when I didn't get in that I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not gonna play tennis anymore. I'm just gonna go to Southwestern College, which is a community college that is in San Diego that every person goes because they don't know what to do. You
Hmm.
know, they just
I
want
did
to
the same thing. Casumnas River College in my city.
continue college and just to follow the same path that their parents follow.
Hmm.
And so I signed up for Southwestern, and then one day I received a call from, his name was Sergio. He was a Mexican player that used to play for San Diego City College, and he was like, "Hey man, how are you? I know you finished high school, and I know you don't have a school. My coach Brandon Lupian wanted to talk to you to see if there was a possibility for you to go to San Diego City College."
Hmm.
And I didn't have any options at that moment, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I can talk to him," but you know, I didn't expect much from that.
Yeah.
Man, that guy is the reason why I'm the person that I
Wow.
am today. You know, like he called me, he brought me into San Diego City. Um, he he told me that he was pretty much following my career since I was 13, and that he really liked my game, and he wanted to me to play for him, right? So I was like, you know
Hmm.
what? I don't have anything else. Let's go. So I committed to playing for him, and I think that was the best decision in my life, you know, to do because he showed me again the importance of hard work, the importance of sacrificing, the importance of leadership, leading by example, um, integrity, honesty, every good trait that you can imagine. This guy showed me to me. He was so hard on myself, like, and also my personality. Um, Deep down, I still had the same traits that I had when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I needed someone to bring those traits out, the values that I had inside. I needed someone to push me to kind of like challenge me to bring them out. I don't want to say that the reason why I didn't succeed from 15 to 18 or 19 was because of others, because it's all in me. Like, it's my responsibility. I take
Mm-hmm.
it, it's all in me, but I needed that person to tell me that I was not the shit, to tell me that you're nobody, to tell me like, what have you won? You know, and and Brandon was the one that pretty much brought me down from like my pedestal. And I remember like me and him, we had a really uh, interesting relationship because I respect him so much. Like I was afraid of him.
Mm-hmm.
He was like this big guy, big guy is tough guy, and whenever he talked, you listen. But at the same time, I would like challenge him too. Like it was like after a tough drill or a tough practice, it was like, that's it, like that's all you got. Like I'm fresh, like give me more. And we had that interesting relationship. And after the first year, um, he sat me down after the last practice, and he was like, Rafa, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, shit, what is this guy gonna say to me? Like I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he's like, you know what? When I recruited you, I talked to a lot of coaches here in San Diego, um, well-known coaches, at that moment. And he was like, you know what they said about you? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, they said that you were that you were an entitled player, that you think that you were the shit, that you didn't know how to work hard, that you didn't like tennis.
Oh.
And as I was hearing all
Oh.
this, I was like, oh my God.
Caught up with you.
And then he finished, and then I'm like I don't know what to tell you, Brendan. And then he's like, you know what I would tell them at this moment after being a year with you? And I'm like, what? And it's like, this where he says exact words. Fuck them all. They don't know how to coach you. They don't know how to challenge you. They don't know how to lead you for to bring the best out of you. They didn't know how to explode your talent,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm going to coach you this whole summer, and we're gonna get to work to get you back to where you want to be. And at that moment his kid was like around 3, 4, and he would give out 2, 3 hours of his day every day during the summer to go and coach me for free, just just to bring the best out of me. And man, like that's something that I would never be able to repay him.
Huge.
That was a huge turning point in my life. um, Next year I had an amazing um, year of tennis with him in community college. I didn't um, I didn't win that much, but I didn't lose that much either. But
Mm-hmm.
the how much I grew internally and personal was insane. That I took that to the next level when I transferred to my 2-year university college, um, and that's why I was able to be that Rafa again.
Yeah. I mean, listening to that story makes me want to fucking like cry. Like junior college, like I, in the same respect to you, junior college tennis, but not even like the establishment itself. Like my coach, like Bo, uh, was, and it's so opposite, which is so like I love that we're so different in how we kind of grew up in the sport. because for me, when I was in high school tennis, I was terrible at sports as a kid. So in high school, if I once I got to high school and I started playing tennis, and that was the first sport I was actually naturally good at, but I also got obsessed and would play every day. I wouldn't go to parties, I wouldn't go to football games, I would just tennis every day. Me and this guy named Sean would just play tennis every day, and he was the tennis stud. And everyone was like, "Oh, you won a match? Like, good job, that's so great." And they would just pat me on the back and they would celebrate me, and they're like, "You've never been good at anything, but now you're good at something." And they they wanted me to be happy with that, and I was, and because I didn't know any better. And then I got to junior college, and I at first was going to go to Cosumnes River College. It would have been the easy route. And I was going to play tennis there. They had an assistant basketball coach as their coach. I would have been number 1 or 2. I knew I could make the team. But then on the other side, there was American River College. I mean, NorCal champions. They had people like Cody Duong, all the Duong brothers and stuff, all that. Just a bunch of insane talent on this team. And I was like, there's no way I could ever make this team. There's no way I could even come close. And I end up meeting, but I have a friend convince me and I go and meet Bo. And, he's not like your coach was a big, intimidating guy. Bo's kind of a skinny guy,
Yeah. Bo, when I met Bo, because I met him because of Andrew. Andrew was in my 2-year college. I mean, in my 2-year after I transferred. And he was my roommate. And when we used to talk about our coaches, they had similar characteristics, just different. And it's so, right now that you're mentioning this, it's so insane how when you are a certain type of person in your life and you have this kind of people around you, you attract the same people to your life. It's insane. I couldn't understand how me from San Diego and him from Sacramento had kind of the similar coaches and the similar
experience.
And right now that you were mentioning about how, you win this, good job, or you end up third place, you're good, you had a good run, you played pretty good. Hey, here's your trophy.
Yeah, right.
Consolation prize. That just I was talking the other day with Brandon. I don't understand why kids or athletes nowadays are so soft, And these videos from coaches from the college basketballs, interviews, and they talk about this, how when you lose, there's a consolation prize. It's okay, you did this. No, you have to affront what just happened. The kids nowadays that it's okay to lose, they're gonna be comfortable, And Brandon taught me the importance of failure.
Yes.
Don't be afraid of failure. It will happen, but you're only gonna get stuck there if you let that define you. You have to look at the failure, and next day you get back to work and you work harder. And that was one of my biggest things with him, how to stop being afraid before going into the court. Because when I was a kid, I would look forward to going to the court and play against these good guys to prove them that I'm here, that I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm small. I look like I can play, but you better be ready. And then when I was coming to college matches, my first, second year, I was afraid, man. I remember that I would be in the band with Brandon. I will always sit in the front seat. That was my seat. Nobody sits there. I'm talking with Brandon,
Yeah.
And I'll be like, Coach, I'm scared. I don't know. I'm shaking. Like I don't like. I'm just afraid of losing. And he would look to me and was like, "Can you stop?" It's like, he would like, stop being, a bitch.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like, why are you scared of? You know.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be so tough with the words that he would use to me. But that's because he knew I could take it.
Mm-hmm.
He knew I could take it, and that would just like fire me to kind of like prove him that I was not that person, that I was going to be like, okay, here we go. But it was like ride after ride and days after days for me to overcome that fear.
Yeah.
And
I think. Well, sorry to interrupt you. Do you want to?
it was because of what you said, because people are like, oh, you play good, man, here, take it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they babysit you, they show you that it's okay to lose, it's okay to be second, it's okay to be third. No, it's not
Mm-hmm.
okay. That mentality just is just gonna affect you in the long run. Like, even though if you're not the best one in the world, because like there's it takes a lot to be the best one in the world, and eventually there are gonna be some other that might be better than you, but you have to approach everything like you want to be the best one. Whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
whatever
It
you want,
seems.
do it.
It seems like we're overcorrecting for shitty parents, if I were to put it real. Like, it seems like because parents do such, especially in the tennis world, like you see a lot, parents are so often the worst cheerleaders and supporters that it's almost like the organization of the sport says we have to make up for all the crappy parents out there that just want to put their kids down and tell them everything that's going wrong, and we're going to give you a trophy. So even if your dad says you suck and that you're never going to be great, at least we're going to give this kid a trophy and he's going to feel good. Like, I think there's a.
Yeah, it's gonna feel good. Let's make him feel less worse than what he feels. No, let him deal
But
with
I
those.
get it though. But I get it because parents are shitty. And if like, have you, like, of course, being a tennis player, you've seen those parents where you're like, oh God, like, that just yell at their kid and just beat them down and just tear them down. I've seen tennis kids that have played spectacular matches, and all of a sudden that dad comes off the court because that kid didn't win, or maybe didn't get that score he wanted, that 0-0 win. It's like, oh, you lost the game. Like, I see how that disappoint, like kids have been fucked up by parents through sports since the beginning of time. It just happens. But I don't think it's the obligation of the sporting organizations to make up for that and to give out these participation trophies to let the kids know they did good. We should just be like teaching parents how to properly support and cheer on their kid, and realize that their job as the parent is to sit in the stands and go, woo! If you want to coach, then you spend 2 hours every day, Monday through Friday, just like I do, or just like the coaches do. And then you can go out there and critique your kid and critique that, because now that's your role. But there's a great video out there online about, I think it's a basketball coach in a press conference who is talking about like college sports and like all the way down to like the little kid sports, and he gives this like exact idea that like, if you're the parent, sit in the stands and cheer, and if you're the coach, it's your job to coach.
I know which one you're talking about. My coach
Have
sent
you
it.
seen it?
Yeah. The one that I think he's a basketball coach, and his kids play basketball like little kids. And
Mm-hmm.
come to him and ask him for advice. He's like, don't ask me. I'm not your coach. Go ask your coach.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, why do you think the reason of me feeling so shit about this trophy,
Mm-hmm.
that it was not enough? It was not because my parents were shitty. I mean, maybe they did babysit me and making me think that it was to not feel so bad when I lose. But
Mm-hmm.
it's because the whole, I guess, society is now doing that, and
Mm-hmm. And it's also like clout chasing. Like, in my opinion, the trophies should actually be bigger. Tennis needs to work on their trophies. Like, come on. You win a national tournament and you get a $2 trophy because the tournament said, we don't really want to put any budget into this. Like, I've seen many tournament directors buy the cheapest and stupidest trophies. Not that it should matter, but they should slightly improve if you win a national tournament.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, I mean, that was the fear of failure. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my coach used to say something. Are you afraid of winning, or you're afraid of losing?
I
Because
wanted to bring this up.
there are two different fears, and for me, it was the fear of winning because I didn't think that I was good enough to be at the level that the others were because of the years that I lack of in my practice and in my just seriousness of the sport, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that chased me, the fear of winning. Like, even though I was improving with Brandon, when I moved on to my second university, I didn't have him anymore, and I was still reaching out to him. And now that we're bringing this up, the fear of winning, I was working a lot. I was working before practice and after practice, and somehow I was not compensating for the time that I left. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was, in my community college, I would get out of class at 10:30, and then my practice was at 12, and I would go straight to the tennis court. And if I didn't have anybody to hit with, I would literally grab the basket. I would like ask my, hey Brandon, can you open the shed? And then he will open it. I would grab the basket and I would do serves. I would hit with the wall. I would literally hand toss me and hit forehands. I would try to work on something, but it was not enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to compensate for all the years that I missed. And somehow during these years, I was working a lot, but I never stopped going out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was working Monday through Friday, and then Friday night I will go out with my friends. Saturday I will practice, but it would not have my best practice. And then Saturday night I will go out and then have a crazy night, you know. And Sunday I was like, oh, and then Monday we go again, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was taking more serious, but I was not doing the right thing to get to where I wanted to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this
You
was
just added it onto your life, but you didn't make the correct adjustments.
it was a transition of a freshman year, sophomore year in community college, and then junior year, I was getting better and better because I was surrounded by only tennis players with my team.
Mm-hmm.
But we will still, you know, go out and drink and this stuff. And then that year, I dealt with a lot of I guess, fear of losing a spot in the lineup because for the first time, I was not the number one in the team,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was competition. And now I was like, shit, like if I don't work, I'm not going to play, you know? And then that whole year I played number 5 in the lineup, singles, and number 2 and 1 doubles. And I remember that year I was thinking like, man, you should be playing higher in the lineup. And man, you shouldn't be losing to this. And man, you shouldn't, and you shouldn't, you shouldn't. And I was putting so many expectations on me. And the reasons why I was doing is because I didn't fully believe in myself of I deserve to win because I was lacking in some part of my training career, you know. I needed to make the adjustment somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to make an adjustment, and I was not being honest enough with myself that I needed to stop drinking if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get to where I wanted to get, right? So summer came up after my junior year, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna work my ass off because I want to have my best college career year this upcoming year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I came back to Tijuana. I had a huge talk with my dad because I wanted to have a fitness coach that was going to cost money. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted a personal coach that was going to cost money.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be serious, right? So I committed with myself of the whole summer practice Monday through Saturday. Um, I will go every day to the gym to do my own thing. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will have a fitness coach for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will have my private coach with another player, right, to make it more affordable. And we will practice at least 3 hours of tennis, and then in the afternoon we will go back to the club and play more. So it
So
was
extreme.
it was, it was, it was a whole process of like summer of not drinking. I was going out with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I would not drink. Um, whole summer, just Monday through Thursday, I would be like practicing, like working my ass off, and then Friday and Saturday, I will be playing matches or playing tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went back to my university, I came back and I beat everybody in the team, not because I was better than them.
My computer froze.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh,
Hold on. It says Zoom meeting not responding. Hopefully.
yeah, my computer froze too, but
All right. Let's let it figure itself out a little bit. Like am I moving on your screen?
no, hold on. Am I moving now?
Yeah, you're moving and I can hear you.
You're not moving, but
You can hear me though?
yeah, I can.
That's worrisome.
Turn off the video, and
What?
if you turn off the video, can you turn it back on and keep recording?
That is a good question. So we may have to call a Hail Mary here. Hold on. So we may have to. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, oh, we're back. We're back. Almost. I'm not moving, but
No, but you can.
the audio's working, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why my screen and camera isn't working. Hopefully that'll figure itself out. But as long as you can hear me, I guess that's the important thing. And I'll just have this inquisitive look on my face, like I don't trust you on my screen.
Anyways, I came back and I beat everybody but my number one player in the team, and it was not because I was better than them. It was because I just had the confidence in myself that I put the work required to beat these players and that I deserve to win. So that fear of winning disappeared because I did truly believe that I prepared myself the way I needed to prepare to get to the level that I wanted to get.
Yeah.
And that was insane. The motivation that I had and the confidence that I had in myself that year, it was all because of a preparation and how I practice.
Mm-hmm. I when you were it seems like a lot of this focus right now is about like mentality almost,
Yeah.
if that like a change in mindset, because you resonated with me a lot with like this idea of like this fear of losing versus this fear of winning, and for me often the biggest challenge or the biggest thought difference is, am I chasing greatness or am I fearing failure? And like for me, that's how I can kind of enter in these like, different mindsets. It's either, and it's pretty 50-50, it's either I'm fearing the failure of something or I'm chasing the greatness of it. Like I would say when I started tennis, I would probably say throughout my entire tennis career, I was just chasing greatness. I never feared the failure because I never quite was in a situation where like I had some personal things as far as like in a match, you sometimes are like, you get to a point where it shifts from chasing greatness to fearing failure, like at like a 40 love point, like when you can win the match. But like as
Yeah.
my overall tennis career goes, I would say that like I always had this idea of chasing greatness. Like I just wanted to pretty much like I wasn't ever worried about me losing a match as long as I improved. Like that was like I wasn't ever worried about a wasted practice or like how well I played. My only goal was, can I get out there and improve in one way or another, whether that's, can I stay focused longer in this practice or this match, can I what do I have a goal for the practice? That's a really big thing, is this in order to create a focus, like having a certain goal based around what you're trying to do or trying to achieve. And like that is what kind of fed me throughout my entire tennis career, and that got me to the heights that I did, because I, like, unlike you, I started playing tennis in like high school, and which is super late for, obviously, you know, some people can kind of pick it up, it happens sometimes in those later stages, but it's super late. And I was an underdog throughout my entire career, going into the tennis. And so that helped me kind of naturally create this mindset of kind of chasing this greatness that I had never really felt or seen before. And I think the fact that I never touched it made it so I kept chasing it, because you touched it. Like you were like, I am great. And then it's like, okay, well, how long do I hold on to this? And so I think that is like that mentality shift, and that's so important necessarily in tennis and in sports and in life, that doesn't even really take a reality change. It just takes a mentality change. Like you don't
Yeah.
need to,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, you don't need to change anything. Like sometimes you do, but for me, usually I find the first step in making a big change isn't changing like my physical like area, it's changing my mental area. And then I can go about making those physical changes.
I think what you're saying, the change, physical, mental, skill wise, or anything that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
you you start doing that once you're true to yourself. Because a lot of times, you know, like, you don't want to sometimes you don't want to hear the reality of what's happening. You know, you like to find excuses, you like to find reasons,
Mm-hmm.
reasons why you're not, like you said, achieving greatness and things like that. um, for me, something that drove me every day was that I wanted to play pro tennis still
Mm-hmm.
after college, and I didn't want to stop playing tennis after college. And like I said, something that really changed for me was being honest with myself of what I'm doing right now. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
not taking me to where I want to be. So what adjustments I need to make as an athlete and as a Rafa outside the court to get to where I want to go, and to feel good with myself, because that's where the fear of winning comes. You know, when you don't trust in yourself, it's the fear of winning, because you're in a match and you win the first sets, and then you're in the second set 5-4,
Mm-hmm.
40-30, and then, you know, like, shit, I need to win this match, because if he wins this point, then it's deuce, and there's a chance that he can go 5-5, and then the match can slip away. But
Yeah.
you don't get those thoughts if you feel prepared. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably do get them, but because of
They're
the
different. They're different thoughts. It's no longer like I'm scared or
they
being
don't scare
frustrated.
you.
Mm-hmm.
They make you go into this um what's the word, like, they make you go into this fight mode. You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to hold my ground here, because this could go
Huevos.
the other way. You know, this could go the other way, and that's something that I could say the biggest change freshman, sophomore, junior to my senior career was
Mm-hmm.
my maturity on how when I played those important points, 40-15, 15-40, deuces, or like match points against me. It was like I need to bring the best tennis outside right now,
Mm-hmm.
at this moment, because if I don't bring it out, I'm gonna lose. So it's
Yeah.
in my control whether I bring it out or not, and whatever outcome happens, I'm gonna do it being the best Rafa on the court. And that came from preparation. Like that's preparation, 100%. If
Mm-hmm.
you, I have this, I found this phrase long time ago that stuck with me forever. Failing to prepare is like preparing for failure,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I pretty much lived my whole last year in college. Like I will prepare like one night before the match. I will have my rackets ready, my grips ready, my clothes ready, the pages that I was gonna read ready. And it was just like it was what's it called, like ritual that
Mm-hmm.
worked for me. Not because it worked for me it's gonna work for you, but I created this ritual that set me into the right mindset to enter to the court and feel ready, feel prepared, feel like, okay, here comes, I'm going to war.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that comes from working and practicing and being honest on the things that are working, that are not working, where you need to make adjustments and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like what you're saying right now is focusing like a little bit, like setting yourself up to make your next situation like a positive one. Like you were sacrificing a little bit the night before to set your next day up, your tomorrow, to be what you wanted it to be. It wasn't a guessing game. You weren't going to be like, I hope I find my shoes, I hope I get to this tournament, I hope I read this. You were telling yourself like, I'm going to sacrifice some time right now and set up my day for tomorrow, so it's like I don't have to, like I could focus on just the things I actually want to focus on instead of focusing on like looking for things or maybe not knowing what you want to do. It's you're sacrificing a little bit of today to make for a better tomorrow.
Yeah,
And
and I didn't want to worry next day about anything that didn't have to do with tennis.
mhm,
So it was like I remember like my teammates sometimes would be like, "Hey, let's come hang out to the room,
mhm.
rid of it and this and that." And I was like, "All right." I go, and then at the moment that we stopped talking about tennis, it was like, "Okay, I'm going to my room." And
Mhm.
that was it. Like I didn't want anything else in my mind other than tennis at that moment.
I am very similar. For me, it's like I have like I can't multitask. Like I need that one track mind. I need that focused mind. Like the more, uh, kind of the more I can focus on something, like that preparedness, like you were talking about, and it's also like equates to, if you prepare for 5 minutes, well, you're going to get 5 minutes of results from that. But if you prepare for a year, you're going to get a year's worth of preparedness
Yeah,
for whatever you're trying to do. So there's levels to it that I think necessarily people don't quite understand. I bet you there's a lot of people out there that think they're preparing or think they're doing the right things to set them up for success, but in reality it's just not quite enough. And we see that a lot of times with a lot of different things. People just think they're doing enough, and then they realize how kind of naive or how ignorant they were. Like, oh my God, I didn't know what this guy was doing over here. Like, clearly I could be doing a lot more.
and the thing is, everybody has their own ways to prepare and their own ways to do things. Like not because I
Hmm.
do things like this, everybody has to do it like this, or because you do things
Yeah,
like that.
figure yourself out. So important.
Something that I learned um, from Tom Bilyeu, which is one of, for me, the best motivator that is out there. Is you have to find a person that is where you want to be, and either get him or get her to be your mentor, or try to imitate what they do in your
Hmm.
own way, and um I mean, everybody has to figure out their things on their own, like, I can tell you, hey, you got to do this and you got to do this, or this worked for me or this worked for me, but you have to go out there and pretty much try things, because if you don't try, you don't know what's going to work. But
Hmm.
a lot of times, because of uh, of the fear of the failure, fear of what others think, that paralyze you, and that doesn't let you explore that option.
Yeah, I feel like it also takes a certain amount of self-awareness that can be
Yeah.
really challenging for some people, especially if you're not used to thinking for yourself or used to thinking more about like the crowd and, like you say, what will others think. I think a lot of people find it really challenging to figure out what they actually truly want. And this can be a kind of a irritating process as well. Because it's just like, what do I want? What actually does work best for me? Not what have I been told, not, what do other people do around me, but like trying to gain that internal perspective kind of can be a difficult process, especially like during those teenage years and kind of coming up through sports.
Yeah, and I think something that helps, I guess, keep that motivation and find that drive and that passion to prepare and to try your best every time, is to set your goals high. Because I my goal was
Hmm.
to play pro, and I mean, that goal was, I mean, it was really big. Sometimes you have to set unrealistic goals, and then be what's the word, like, be um humble enough
Hmm.
to kind of like understand that some goals are sometimes at that moment unachievable, but because you're setting the goal so high, then that pushes you to work hard. And that's something, like, when I will lose a match, I will be so pissed to myself, and I will have to be on my own. But at the same time, I needed to be humble enough to understand that it was just a match, and that it was just more more data to know where I needed to work on. And next day,
Hmm.
boom, get to work again.
Yeah, learning from those failures, and like what you were saying, as far as like I do want to agree with you about setting that unrealistic big goal, but I also just want to make a note that then from there you work down, right? Then you from there
Yeah,
you're like, all right, so then what are the like the second biggest steps I need to take to reach this goal? And then
you have to have your small wins, because if not, you can get discouraged after you're failing and failing. You're like, for example, I want to be pro, and then I play 5 pro tournaments and I don't win a round. I'm like, shoot, like, the goal is too far. And, like, you have to set your small wins and your small
Mhm.
goals for you to not get discouraged, and for you to track your progress, because if not, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it brings me back to your marathon days, like just like this kind of crazy goal, and maybe and you definitely kind of had these steps on how to maybe try and conquer or beat it, and it didn't work out perfect. It's your first time trying a marathon and successfully completing it. But what was your mindset kind of going into that like what were the small steps you took for that marathon, if you could think back about it?
I mean, that
Like the small goals, I guess would be a better word.
I think that goal that I set for myself, it was not. I guess it was not something that I it's something that built up through the years of me being in Sonoma State. You know, when
Mhm.
I moved to Sonoma State, um, in Hunter Park, like I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. First time living alone, like outside the dorms. First time paying for my own bills. I mean, my dad still helped me a little bit with the rent, but all the other things were on my own. You know,
Mhm.
so being alone for the first year and not knowing anybody helped me a lot to build that character to 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 take this step and to challenge myself to um, run a marathon. Because I mean the first year I didn't know I was gonna run the marathon like on my second year being there, you know. But I
Mhm.
think it's something that you build up through different life experiences, different challenges that you have in your life. Because um, my resilience when I ran that marathon was not something that was built with practice in the long runs. It was uh, those long nights when I didn't have no one to talk to in Runner Park, and next day I had to wake up at 7 in the morning to go to the gym and then get to
Mhm.
work late, and then coach both teams, and then have 30 minutes to eat lunch, drive to Sausalito, coach another 3 hours, drive back, coach Margi for an hour, then go to my MBA, and then do it all over again. You know,
Mhm.
it's a process, and you don't know it. You don't know what you're preparing for, but that just keeps adding to your like David Goggins said, to your cookie jar. You know, it's like
Your what?
your cookie jar. You know how David Goggins says that those are um, things that you're overcoming, things that you're
Mhm.
are creating. Um, what's it called, like confidence in yourself,
Mhm.
right? So you're building, and then the first year, I had a good year over there with the teams. Really, well, you were my player. We had a
Mhm.
year on tennis. Same with the girls, you know, and that was confidence for myself that things that I was doing were good. I also challenged myself to get stronger in the gym. And then the second year, when I was there, one of my buddies here in Tijuana started running, and it was a friend that we used to always like compete with each other, right?
Mhm.
So as you might know already, I'm a really competitive guy, and there was this time when we were FaceTiming, and they were talking about running the marathon, and I was like, man, like this is too easy. Like I can run a marathon without practicing, you know?
And how many people have that mentality going into certain obstacles? Like the reason they don't do it is because it's too easy. That's one of the most irritating things you ever hear.
Yeah, yeah, because in reality, I didn't want to do it, not because
Mhm.
it was too easy, just because I hated running. Like
Mhm.
I hated running, but for some reason I was good. I was good running, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get into this marathon to beat this guy, right?
Mhm.
Is to show him that I'm better than him in pretty much in you know.
Uh-huh.
And then I started running. I started preparing. I didn't prepare the right way because um, it took me too long to kind of like get mass and build muscle, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to lose it. So I was just running once a week, and of course that was not the right way to run it. But anyways, a lot of things that helped me prepare for that marathon was listening to Tom Bilyeu's
Can you
uh,
spell his name?
EOM, and then the last name is Bilyeu, and he helped me a lot during my time on.
And he has a show Impact Theory. Sorry, I cut that off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has his own YouTube channel, Impact Theory, and recently he started his own Impact Theory University, which talks about mindset, business, and health. You know, uh,
Mhm.
for me, the most important thing was the mindset. I love how the mind works, and I think that's something that I found uh, myself being passionate about. Um, and him, when I moved to Sonoma, I found him in YouTube videos, and that's he helped me go through a lot of shit. I was going through a lot of things in that moment in my life, um, that I don't know if I wouldn't find him in YouTube, I wouldn't. I don't know if I could have done the things that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but listening to him podcast of also Ed Milet, I also read the book from David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a huge motivator for me on my runs, my long runs especially, because
You
he,
listen to those during.
yeah, I would like put on my Spotify, like just um, motivational speeches about just working out or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it started with 8 miles, then 10, then 12. The 12-mile mark was hard because I ran it in Colorado, in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a different altitude. It was cold. It was it was insane, man. Like I don't know where I found this motivation, because at the same time I was working and I was coaching two teams. I was working in another tennis academy. I was doing my MBA, and then on top of that, I was also working out in the gym because I didn't want to lose my mass. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot of stuff, and I mean, I didn't have any distractions, to be honest. Like my focus was all tennis, and working out.
Mm-hmm.
And but I honestly don't know where I found this energy from, because I would wake up um, like 5, 6 in the mornings before a match day,
Mm-hmm.
run my long run, and my long run was no shorter than 12 miles at the point that we started playing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about this: like waking up at 6 in the morning to run at least 12 miles, then get back to shower, then get back to the court because you needed to coach your team. It was tough. It was tough.
Yeah. Uh, I do think there's something to say about challenges you choose versus challenges you don't, and the motivation you can sometimes get. Like when I find that I choose to take on a challenge, uh, like my motivation and my like I can have animalistic type like want and intensity and focus, as opposed to like if I'm like having to take on a challenge, like it's not like quite my choice, like it's like a life obstacle, or maybe it's like a injury or something. It's like something that I personally didn't wake up and say I want to do this. That I find I'm in a much different mindset, and it takes a lot more outside sources for my motivation. But if I make like this challenge like that I would choose, like when I chose to run the 20 miles or whatever it is, like, and I chose to do that, like if I had to do that, I promise you, like if one day one of my tennis coaches was like, I want you to go run 20 miles for practice, like I would never do it. Like I probably mentally couldn't do it, because it was like it wasn't that choice. But the fact that I was like, hey, like I want to do this. Like I want to go through this. You asked me, and I could have easily just said no, but I was stupid and I got excited. But I was like, yeah, let's do it. And the focus and the intensity, like I had this, like I wasn't gonna give up. Like it wasn't gonna happen. And obviously, there were some comments made about me not being able to do it by some outside people. That got to me a little bit, and I was like, I'm doing this. Like haters are your
Right.
motivators.
And something that, like you said, like I chose to do the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was another type of testing myself, and me not playing competitive tennis anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
And that was a way to prove myself that I can still perform at a high level being an athlete, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
What is it that makes you kind of want to take on these? Because you've done a few crazy challenges.
yeah.
If I look back.
Um, what makes me pick this, I don't, one of my goals is I don't want to be old and not function well, like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily get fat. Of course I don't want to get fat, but that's not my goal. It's just I want to be able to do things that I want to do, like um and I think it's all in my under my control. If I maintain myself healthy with my nutrition and working out and active, I mean, of course, my body will, with the age, will start getting, um, I guess, uh, older
Mm-hmm.
and
Slow down a little bit.
yeah, like I guess it's gonna start becoming less athletic, but
Mm-hmm.
I can control how fast that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be this that his kid wants to go out and play soccer with him and he can't, or his kid wants to go play tennis with him and he can't of uh because
Because
of
of choices they made.
yeah, and also because I like challenges. I like
Mm-hmm.
challenges. I like crazy challenges. I like
What
I want
about
to
them? What do you think? What about this craziness? What are you chasing something? Because I love the thrill. Like I'm
I,
chasing it. Like
I like I like I like to feel that um, like at the end of like a bad, like a really hard challenge, I like to feel like shit, like you did it,
mm-hmm.
I like to make people see that it's achievable, and of course, I mean, I like when people get inspired by the things that I do, um, and I think that's something that kept me motivated when I was in the preparing for the marathon. Like when I was preparing for the marathon, I started like also this side hobby of
Hmm.
um, creating motivational videos during my runs or after my run or things that I experience. And a lot of some of my videos were like I receive a lot of messages and a lot of comments, and people asking for advice or people telling me that they got motivated because of me. Like I like that, and I like I don't know. I like to stand out from other
Yeah.
people. I like to stand out. I like to
You like to do.
yes, I like to do things that people are not willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like that marathon thing. Like I mean, we haven't talked about this, but when we run the 20-mile, you and me, like that's when I pretty much hurted my IT band 3 weeks away from the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
My recovery process was definitely not going to be 100% for the marathon. And a lot of people before, like, right, if something like that happened before that, like a lot of people would quit, would be like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, it's not worth it to challenge myself, to hurt my knee, to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there's no way I'm not running the marathon.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I went to my physical trainers in Sonoma. I went to athletic trainers here in Mexico, to massages, to everything that I could do to get my knee ready as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran the marathon. And during the marathon, this is funny. One night before I went to the supermarket to buy ibuprofen for the race.
Mm-hmm.
And that morning, I forgot the ibuprofen in my house, so I didn't have any medicine with me, any pain relief, anything, and my knee started hurting 3 miles in the race.
Mm-hmm.
So it was insane. And when I was running that marathon, I stopped when I was like 20.5 miles in. Started walking, jogging, crying, and I mean, no one like. I mean, not, I don't want to say no one because a lot of people. I'm not the only one that has gone through this, but a lot of people at that stage to be like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna call it a day. take an Uber, take a Lyft, I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, a lot of those thoughts crossed my mind. I was crying. I was seeing like I was watching people pass me, and I was looking at like to my right, left, like those little scooters to just rent them and go to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then in my mind, I was thinking like pain is temporary, and there's like the worst thing that can happen to you is you're hurt for like a week of like your knees hurting, and that's it. Like nothing else is gonna happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I also wanted to. I think this comes back to what my mom taught me when I was a kid. You start something, you finish.
Mm-hmm.
So I was walking, jogging, walking, jogging, walking, jogging. The pain was insane, man. It's one of the worst pains that I ever felt. Uh,
At what
it
point? Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
was my right knee, and then transferred to my other knee, my hips, my butt. You know, I was
Mm-hmm.
watching people, like old people, like I want to say like 45, 50-year old, pass me, people that were in like uh, less fit than me, pass me. People man, past me. I was so pissed with myself. I was really pissed because I couldn't believe it. And then I was like, okay, that's it. It's you against you at this moment. Either you stop complaining and you stop looking at others and you stop thinking about the pain, or you're gonna just keep crumbling and eventually quit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept on going, taking the pain, taking the pounds. I try to call you to motivate me. I call many others. I call. Uh, uh, there was my another buddy that was following me on the app, and he was sending me texts, this, and that. So I was like, okay, keep going, keep going. Just keep going, man. One
Mm-hmm.
step, one step at a time. I just look back to all my training runs. And that's what kept me moving.
Yeah. All right. So compared to the feeling at the end of the marathon and winning the national tournament, what's
Well,
the difference? What's the difference?
well, I mean, at the end of the marathon, like I think if I wouldn't finish running the marathon, then I wouldn't be proud of myself because I started running in the last mile, and it was a weird motivation moment.
Mm-hmm.
Got to the last water place, and this guy saw me crying and struggling. He ran to me with 2 cups and was like, "Here, man, you can do this." And then
This
there,
was
this
during the race?
yeah, the during the last mile, and then the song "Living on a Prayer" came in.
Mm-hmm.
You're halfway there, and I'm like, okay, that's it, last mile, and some pacers passed by, and I told them, don't let me go, and I just ran with them, and I finished.
Amazing.
Cried after it, cried of I don't know, many emotions. But comparing marathon to the tennis championship, um,
Like
it's different.
what was there, like what kind of perspective change did you have on like the marathon that maybe you could have wished you had when you were a kid?
Oh man, I wish I would have had the more maturity and more, I guess, discipline on my tennis career when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
Because uh, there were many days that I wanted to just, call it a day and not run the marathon because I
Mm-hmm.
hate it. I hate it. But at the same time, I love it because every time that I would run, I would talk to myself and just find more things about myself. But I think the things that I would take definitely from the marathon and put it on my life when I was 15, it was the commitment that I had with myself,
Mm-hmm.
and the discipline, saying if you're gonna do something, you better do it. Don't you have to align your actions with your words.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I like and I'm almost be down to like finish with this idea of like following in on those commitments, and because everything's a click away. You could be like you could commit to 1,000 different things in this world so easily, I feel like, nowadays, and people are so quick to pick something up and just drop it.
Yeah.
You know, give no loyalty to the original idea that they had, the person that they were when they thought of the idea and all the good that it would bring to their lives. They're so quick to just go back on that and be like, nah, I don't want to do that. And I get it, because it's like you want to try new things, but you build up. If you try something and keep quitting, like keep trying new things and keep quitting them, that's a habit you are now officially building. Like, you are building a habit of picking something up and saying, and then quitting within the next couple of weeks. And that will become something that either you know yourself for and try and hide, other people know yourself for, or it's something you're just going to necessarily have to deal with, because now you don't have any really good follow through. Like, that's why, like, college is so interesting, right? There's a lot of fors and against. But if you could say the one thing about college, it's that you set your mind on a goal that society didn't make you do. Like, high school's kind of like society forced, but like college is a 4-year commitment that you are making. And the fact that you can make a 4-year commitment, and the person that made that commitment 4 years ago did now got to this other side of it. I think there's just something really powerful and telling about someone who can get through a goal that they've created, especially as a coach and a teacher. Like, as a tennis coach, it's so something I look for in a tennis player or a student of any kind, is that ability to finish it out.
Yeah, and I think what you said, like the habits it becomes a habit when you pick up something, you commit to something, and then you quit, commit, you quit, you commit, you quit. Like, that is connected to your confidence and to your self-belief, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep proving yourself that you commit to something and then you quit, commit to something and then you quit, you're just unconsciously telling yourself that you're not good enough to man up your work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how people start losing confidence in themselves, and they don't notice it because it's just so easy for them to say, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then it's so easy for them, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, because they don't see the impact internally that is making on them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's, how can I explain this? Like, if I would have quit that marathon, you know,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, halfway through the practice, you know, it's like, you know what, I don't want to do this. It's like, what message am I first sending to myself that it's literally on inside, like it's under my control, whether I complete practicing or not? And what message I'm sending to my players that are looking up to me? You know, how can I expect them to follow my lead when I'm saying I'm gonna do something and then I don't do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with small things, you know, like saying that you're gonna wake up at 7:30 in the morning, and then you hit the snooze button, and then you go 7:45. You know,
Mm-hmm.
stupidest thing to do, and smallest detail, but there you're proving yourself that you cannot do something that you're proposing yourself. So that is showing you that you don't have self-confidence, that you don't have that self-control in yourself to do the things that you say you're going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the quitting starts, you know?
Yes.
That's how it becomes something normal, something as a routine. And to break that, it's tough.
Absolutely.
Once you get into that that path, man, it's so tough to break it, because like I mean, we were talking about this before we started the podcast, how I needed to get back into my good habits, my morning routine, because it's been hard for me to wake up.
Hmm.
I Luckily for me, I still haven't adopted such a bad habits, like not being productive and proactive during the day.
But
But
you know how it spirals.
but if I continue to not, like if I say I'm gonna wake up at this time and I'm gonna work out at this time, I need to do it, because then if it's so easy for me to do this thing, then the next thing is gonna be easy for me is maybe not show to the podcast that I said with Dylan that I was gonna do.
Hmm.
It just becomes easier and easier and easier and easier and easier, and then when you when you least expect it, you look back and you're like, shit, how did I get so far from here if I was so productive?
Yeah, it's those small details, those the decisions you make, on a daily basis are dictate so much of not what we become, but just who we are. Like those small tough decisions. Do you let the little devil subconscious get in your head and say, nah, come on, 5 more minutes of snooze? Or like, oh, do you really need to hold that plank all the way to the minute, or can you just stop at the 58? you know
Yeah.
oh, can you go to the, like, it's, line touches, oh well, like, my foot touched the line. Did your hand touch the line? Well, no, but like, why not? And it's these decisions that just so affect us. And it made me think of Kobe, and it's going to get me sad, and I don't want to end sad, but it's
Oh
just
man.
these small decisions.
Yeah, and you said it right now. Like, do I need to get to a minute or the 58-minute plan? Like that 58-second plan is like that's a great example on how, for me at least, at this moment, it's transferring, because I keep working out every day. I keep doing it like the right way, but I'm not pushing myself the way I used to push, because I'm kind of like tracking from not waking up early or not doing the things that I said I was going to do. And like I'm working out hard, but for example, I have an extra rep and I stop. It's like
Hmm.
I feel bad with myself. And it's like, why am I doing this? It feels weird.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because I'm kind of, if I don't start creating again the good habits that I had in the morning, then maybe some other aspects in my life are gonna start getting affected.
Hmm.
And that's it. That's why you have to be really self-conscious and self-aware of things that you're doing.
Hmm.
And it's tough. It's tough, but you have to be smart enough, and you have to be
It's aware. Be conscious. Be aware. Know what you're doing.
and understand that each day is another day to get better. Each
Hmm.
day, it's a blessing, because there are a lot of people right now that are passing away from this COVID thing, and you have to take it to the max. And if you're gonna work out, you work out the best possible way that you can. If you're gonna work from home, you gotta work from home the best possible way that you can. If whatever your passion is, whatever you're doing for a living, whatever it motivates you to do it, or even when you don't have motivation, because motivation comes and goes,
Yeah.
to commit with
That's why you
yourself.
have these written out goals, right? That's why we have these steps to take. Where do I go next when you get lost on that journey?
You have to be committing with yourself to be the best you possibly can, day after day, and it's not going to happen every day. That's
Hmm.
human nature. It will be really, really unreal, really, really unreal that someone can do this day after day. But it's just the consistency and the, like you said, like self-conscious and the self-awareness that if you didn't do it one day, then okay, next day we adjust.
Hmm.
And that's how you are going to stand out from the average and normal people. That's it.
Absolutely. Well, Rafa, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. I know you got a lot going on, but absolutely such a fun conversation. Is there anything else you kind of want to add before we roll out here?
No, I mean, I think this last topic that we closed the podcast with was the best way to close it.
Hmm.
Um, I want to thank you for having me here. It's fun. First podcast.
Hmm.
It's fun, it's just talk about life experiences, and with this podcast, you're aware of things that you're doing, that you're not doing, and hope that whoever is watching this, if you're an athlete or you're a profession and something, to try to connect my life experience and your own life experiences to your own life, and take the best out of it. And like, if in the future you want to do it again, King, more than welcome.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is for sure not the last time you're gonna be on this podcast.
And if anybody feels that needs some help, advice, that maybe relates with me, feel free to contact me. My Instagram, it's under
And,
what
and we'll put it up on the screen too if you want, but you can say it right now.
Instagram, it's Rafita_MTC. I'm pretty sure Dino's gonna put it out, like you
Yep.
said. And then shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, and I'm more than happy to talk with you, and find a way that I can help you with my experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rafa. Thank you everyone for listening. What a great podcast, and I guess we will see you next time on Off Track. See ya.